Hello, welcome everybody to ASPIRE23. We are here to talk about Power Platform solutions for professional services and field services companies. We might throw in a few other things as well as we go along. So my name is Eric Forgo. I'm the Director of Data Platform Services, which includes the Power Platform and all things related to data as well. Aaron?
Hey everyone, my name's Aaron Moon and I'm a manager on our Power Platform team. And so it's my job to work with our clients and help design and implement solutions that can help to automate and move your business forward. So excited to be here with you, Eric, and talking about some of the things that we're seeing in the world today.
Perfect. So we're going to go ahead and first we'll kind of lay the foundation as to what the Power Platform is. So many folks are already aware of what the Power Platform is, but some folks may not know all of the different pieces and components to it. So we'll walk through that. And then after that, we're really going to jump into some real world examples of kind of what we do as a company, because Velosio is a professional services organization. And by extension, there's a lot of the same principles and concepts that go forward to field services organizations as well. So Aaron, tell us about the Power Platform.
Sure, happy to. So the Power Platform is really a suite of tools. It's a broad banner that encompasses a couple of different things. And so as we go through, you'll see here, we start off with Power BI, and that's our business analytics tool that can develop reports and dashboards and very visually appealing kind of charts and graphs. You have Power Apps for building mobile apps. Let's say you want to have an app on your phone that your team uses and collects data. We can do that with Power Apps, and it's very easy to build that out. You don't have to know how to write lines of code to do that. Power Automate is our automation wizard tool. It's again very visually kind of designer focused. You can click through and add steps to an automation that will run every day, or maybe it's triggered off of something happening in your environment. And it can do things like sending emails or manipulating data. There's lots of different scenarios there we can talk about. You also have virtual agents. So that's the idea of a chat bot. Maybe you're interacting with an agent to get some information or even kick off certain tasks. Another item that's not in here, that's a newer item, is Power Pages. And that was really coming out of the Power Apps world, but it's this tool for building websites, a website that your customer or your partner could navigate to and interact with you and provide data. And so those are really the core pieces, but they have ties into a couple of other things like Dataverse. You might have heard about that. It's a great place to store data. AI Builder, it's a tool from Microsoft to help you utilize AI. There's lots of data connectors to connect these different tools to other third-party services. And of course, in the Microsoft world, you've got Dynamics and Office and Azure, and these things all work with Power Platform.
Yeah. And Aaron, I want to mention, just as a little teaser for folks for the end of the presentation, around Power Virtual Agents, what's happening there is there's a sort of this melding of using what we all know is generative AI with Chat GPT. And we'll talk about that at the end of the presentation as well, because all of these tools kind of fit nicely together to help a business succeed. So when we think about the overall services organizations, we think about a few different categories that every single services organization deals with on a day-to-day basis. So those categories: resource management. So you've got time and resource. What is your most important asset as an organization? It's your people and their ability to deliver services to your clients. And then the key is, what's the effective way in which you can go to market with those team members based on those resources? So we're going to show you a couple of examples that we use as an organization around that. Then also, when you look at overall project, all projects have some budget constraints, and so there, we'll look at some ways in which we can address that. And then, ultimately through project management, that's that project governance, is giving that visibility. You can see the binoculars there with the lens down to getting low levels of detail and visibility for organizations, and using the Power Platform and various tools within that to achieve that. And insight and analytics, Aaron mentioned Power BI. Of course, it's the world's #1 business intelligence tool, tightly integrated with all things apps, full access to the Dataverse so any data that you're collecting, there's access to it within Power BI. And then AI and insight. This is, again, the teaser on ChatGPT, that there's an increasing focus of not just collecting data, but then using the data and then having the data tell a story, for you. And that is happening more. And then lastly, there's always the environment, right? The environment of collecting data in the proper way, structuring it in the right way so you can have access to it. So, those are a few things, and you see the tools at the bottom that kind of lay the foundation for access to that detail and help organizations. The business case and the business value is around gaining productivity, right? Realizing value. And so what we're going to show you today has absolutely helped Velosio, achieve its results, and how Aaron and I work with the team on a day-to-day basis. So the first part of the process, Aaron, talk about resources.
Yeah. Okay. So we're giving you guys an insight into a little bit of how Velosio does things, some tools that we've used throughout the years, and specifically how we've used Power Platform to try to solve different problems that we've had. So, as a services organization, often, the biggest thing that you're looking to manage is your people's time, and understanding the skills that those people have, and when they're available, when they're not available, who is the best person, to help work on this particular thing. If that is, a project with a particular scope of work, or if that is a work order or an issue that needs to be resolved, and there's a particular skill set that comes with, that resolution. And so one of the things that we've had to work through is, how do we, keep track of the skills that our team members have, and then being able to compare that up against their calendars, right? So this was, you can see the Excel file there in the top left. It is barely readable, and that's really a catalog of skill sets and the level of ability and expertise in those different areas. And so we translated that into a Power App, right? We were able to say, let's move this into something that's mobile, that people can open up on their phones. They can look at details about people's skills and search for and find the person that we need in order to do the work that needs to get done.
Yeah. Aaron, I think there was a use case with, I'm thinking of a couple of different clients. One of them was heavy into RFP preparation and presentation for the governmental sector. And so they consistently had to identify specific resources, and in some cases named resources, that for, to execute a certain particular function. And they were, using, an app that we developed to actually identify those resources as they completed those RFPs.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, sometimes we are looking for a person that can help us do work that's already been sold. And then there's times that we're looking for the right people to go with us and sell to win the deal, right? And in that case, it was, we're responding to an RFP, and we need to say, here's your team. If you sign up with us, you're going to get these people, and they have this many years of experience, and they excel in these particular industries or these areas. So understanding your team's capability is very important in our world.
Yeah. And then, we'll hit it at the very end, Aaron, I think, when we talk about some of the metrics around field services. But what's so important in field services, for example, is fixing the problem the first time. So you don't have to do another trip out to a client site. And the key is, are we assigning the right resource to solve the problem that has been articulated, right? And so you don't want an easy way to basically dispatch, team members out to that site. And so this kind of helps with that process.
That's right.
Talk about forecasting, right? Now you've identified the resource. Now what do you do?
Yeah, now we need to understand, what are people going to be doing every week, every month? Do we have work that's planned out for our team members? Where are the gaps, right? Where are, oftentimes we plan for work to happen and then something gets delayed, right? Something changes. And so we need to be able to really plan out the work. And that comes down to forecasting. And so for a services organization like Velosio, we're focused on our projects and our project schedules. And this forecasting process back in the day used to happen in an Excel file, right? We're trying to do this manually and put the information and share files around. And we were able to use Power Platform and create an app that our team members could use. This can be mobile on their phones or just on their laptops, but actually manage their own forecast, right? I want to see my schedule. I want to see my projects that I'm going to be working on. And I want to have my own input, as my managers and others do as well. But be able to see, what am I working on this week and what am I going to be working on next month?
Yeah, that exactly. And when you think about a field services organization, we know that there are big applications out there that manage people, right? But if you want to have a low code application, a lighter footprint, you can schedule people and think about those people who are already in the field, and you're basically telling them where to go to next, right? And they can have it literally right on their phone. They can get that information, get the location, get basically what the problem is, and it's sitting right there. And so it's easy to execute upon.
Yeah. And, I think one of the benefits of Power Platform is the ability to build something that is simple and directly solves your problem, right? There are lots of applications and companies building solutions for these things, for forecasting. But I can, think of a particular client that we've been working with, where they tried a solution from, a large company that had built out a very robust, solution for scheduling and forecasting, staffing, and it just didn't work. It didn't work. It was too complicated. It was too much, and it was slowing them down to have to learn and use this application. And so, we met together and we're working on building out a simplified process with Power Apps that will allow them to just do the things that they need to do and provide their team members with a very simple user experience, right? Just enter the stuff that we need in order to move the business forward and simplify that process down.
Yeah, exactly. Aaron, I'm going to take this one, because as a, manager and our team is expanding, things are going well. But it's becoming increasing with more and more project and more team members. Having visibility and then setting expectations properly for management is a super important kind of process, right? We need to provide visibility to the organization. So forecasting comes down to forecasting. So through the app, we collect information around where and what people are going to be doing down to the project level, right? But then to see it visually on a screen in terms of the number of the detail of the project, the detail of the product line. So we work in multiple product lines across our business, but then also see it by week is incredibly kind of, effective in terms of having that visibility. And of course, in a different slice of this same Power BI report, which is exactly what it is, you can look at it by individual as well. So you can look at it from different dimensional data, whether it's the time dimension or whether it's down to projects. It's very kind of simple and easy. And of course, Power BI can be, again, deployed, both on your desktop. It could be on your mobile phone. You can have access to all this information.
Right. Yeah. And Power BI can pull from really any data source, right? So the beauty of reports like these and the tools that we're talking about is you can pull from Dynamics if you have a Dynamics application, or you could pull from some other system, right? And build a report that can aggregate the data that's been collected from a previous step.
Yeah. Cool. So we all know that as we manage projects, things change, right? And the project changes, the time duration changes, the forecast changes. And so one thing that we do, at Velosio is saying, all right, is a project forecastable? Or if it's not, we provide a facility to give visibility to management of why it's not forecastable. And you can see behind, the box behind it saying that there's, some level of explanation. And again, the time frame impact. You're sort of collecting that. Again, it's all about setting expectations. So from a professional services and services management perspective, it's about collecting that data easily. This is another app, right? Click the button, goes to the app, put in the project number. And of course, a project manager can collect all of their projects under one kind of view if they want to see that as well, and kind of go through week by week and set, make changes.
Yeah. A lot of what this is about is catching where there's issues. This is let's get a snapshot of what's going on, or let's report something that's going wrong so it can be brought up and the right visibility be given to it.
Yep, exactly. Yep. All right, this next one here as well is just around process. So, what are ways in which the Power Platform can be impactful to the business, right? Well, one way is to just increase efficiency, right? And efficiency a lot in an organization has a lot of people comes down to process. And so what we've done is basically provide managers with visibility to when timesheets have been entered, right? They're ready for review. We know exactly that they are there and that we can go into our systems, review the detailed time cards and go ahead and hit review. So that's pretty straightforward, but again, it's a nice kind of Power Automate functionality there, right? So that one's pretty neat.
Yeah, that's what I was going to call out. I mean, this is starting to show some of the automation that can happen, right? The visual things that you can see are the Power Apps collecting data, the Power BI that's reporting on it. But the stuff behind the scenes is the automation, the Power Automates that are being built to send notifications, to send these emails. And oftentimes this is really, what can help the most is just making sure that we're getting things in front of people. And, emails not going away. Sometimes you just need to get an email reminder about something.
Yeah, Aaron, talk about that first day alert on the right-hand side, because I think that was one of your team members.
Oh, was it? Yeah, I mean, this is, making sure that people are doing their job, are entering the information, and then, letting the manager know, if something's not right. And so, think about whatever your processes are, your process that you need your team collecting data and making sure that they're doing it right, and making sure that they're following the process we need to follow to be successful.
Absolutely. All righty. All right, here's another one of your favorites, Aaron. So
I'll talk about this. So we're still kind of in the vein of, okay, now maybe in our world, the project is ongoing. And we want to make sure that our team has access to all of the information they need in order to get the job done. And so for us with projects, that's things like how many hours are left, what is our budget looking like, digging into the information, how many, about those things that we need to watch, those KPIs. But it's also about collaborating with the project team. So if you'll go to the next slide, Eric, being able to see the information I mentioned about hours, but also, review the objectives of the project, have that available to you, see who's involved with this project, and then be able to kind of record status, capture risks and issues, and manage that as we go to ensure that we can get to the finish line. In the same way, being able to drill down when we do have an issue, see the time that's being collected, the time that's being spent by the team, and see where that's going, and maybe even kind of see that in a visual way. If you go to the next slide, Eric, being able to see.
I will. Before I move to the next slide, though, I want to just point out to everybody, the key is that if you look in that upper part, left-hand side of the slide where you've got general, hours, details, analytics, admin, and related, the key is there's an easy way for folks to gain access and visibility to projects, which is so critical in terms of management. Every single person, and Velosio's objective is to have, raving fans, every project going well. And this tool simply gives that visibility. And, I wanted to note as well, it goes down to even what's on a time card, right? How did somebody spend their time? What did we actually accomplish on behalf of our clients? And it's the same for your clients as project-based organizations. So
Yeah. So this is right. And then I didn't even say at the beginning, but this is another Power App.
Yeah.
And the point of this is to bring a lot of information that's in different places into one place for the team members that are working on projects to be able to see. And that can be data screens, as you saw before, that detailed, time data that's coming in, or it can be visual. As you're seeing here, we're incorporating some Power BI components to provide some visuals so we can see how the burn down rate of the project and that sort of thing.
Yep. So you've got apps, automate, and now Power BI, kind of all woven together, and kind of the suite of quote unquote products, that we use internally, and that we've deployed for many other clients.
That's right.
All right, we're back to kind of on the reporting side. One thing we talked a little bit before about the forecast, about the importance of forecasting, but what's also important is say, hey, how good are we at forecasting, right? We want to provide that visibility. We want to be accurate. And so this one goes down to the project level, very straightforward. And we can see over a duration of time, how did we do? So I'm looking up there right now and I'm seeing, forecasts of 304 hours, actual hours of 272. We were a little bit under our forecast. Maybe we over delivered on this project, got done a little bit faster. But the key is it's around control and visibility again. And it's the integration, of this Power BI report back to that same data set that we have populated with our apps.
That's right. Yeah. So, hopefully this is helpful for those of you who are in a professional services world and you're maybe working with projects or something similar, that you can kind of start to get ideas about how we are collecting data. We may be having some automation and then using reports to get that data aggregated and be able to see trends of how things are going and make decisions, make changes if we need to.
Yeah. Aaron, I just want, we just said, we focused on professional services, but I wanted to make sort of an overall comment as well, because, we talk about professional services and field services. That was the title for our presentation, but really the applicability of the technology is much broader. So think about a biotech company who is developing a brand new drug. They have a project plan. They have resources that they need, to be employed. They have a long process, everything from development all the way through FDA compliance, and then ultimately a production process and release. These types of tools, on the Power Platform can be applied to any one of those within that quote unquote service area, right? It has to do with people, it has to do with tracking, it has to do with skill sets. And so I think it's pretty, broadly, can be used broadly.
I totally agree.
All right. You bet. So one example here, and I think, one area of technology that is becoming increasingly important is helping organizations to model their business and basically doing some what if scenario analysis. So here's a field services, scenario analysis. And so we mentioned a little bit earlier, what would happen if you were able to improve your service delivery time, maybe faster dispatching, better logistics, in other words, sort of route management as well of your team, and you improved it by 10% in that upper left-hand side. What would be the direct impact on the organization in terms of, gross margin and ultimately on profitability? Well, through the use of Power BI and access to that data environment, you can basically create this type of interactive tool to create those scenarios. Same thing with other factors that impact the business there. So, and then as well through this type of modeling, you can create different scenarios. So as you go through and say, or what would happen if we added X amount of brand new people? How much would they generate, right? X number of brand new trucks, reduce our delivery time. So all of those things can be modeled and then put to good use with Power BI, right? And again, it's going back and using all that historical information that's been collected.
That's right. That's what I was going to add is, the key is that we've collected the data we need to collect so we can get to this point where we can really start to analyze it and become smarter about the way we're doing business.
Yeah, perfect. So On this one, I think the key is, Aaron, you might want to mention about kind of that single pane of glass and, the ability to embed all of our technologies.
Yeah, so I think that we wanted to throw this slide in here and to talk a little bit about teams and then how these tools are going to interact with products that you might already be using. So with Power Platform, it's embedded inside of Microsoft 365. So when you're talking about using Teams, there's lots of things now where you can add something to a Teams channel, and you can add Power Apps, you can add Power BI directly inside of Teams. So you can all be working together right there, right, and have everything that you need. The other thing is that you can kind of embed these things into one and have them being really seamlessly integrated. So let's say that you want to be looking at a report and you want to take action. You can have Power Apps be inside of a Power BI report, or maybe you want to kick off an automation. And so all of these tools from Microsoft are really built to work together. And if you're using all of them, then you can really start to see some benefits from combining them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would say the beautiful thing, though, Aaron, is that about technology is there's never an end point, right? We're not near the end. There is no goal line that we can cross, right? And so that's where Power Platform and ChatGPT come into play, right? And so everybody's talking about AI. It's just everywhere. It's pervasive. And some folks have talked about the PC being the sort of a first generation revolution in IT technology, and they talk about the internet. I would advocate that the cell phone has actually had quite a big impact as well in terms of another technology that's out there. But certainly ChatGPT, is going to impact the way that we do our jobs every day. So, Aaron, what from your perspective, what is the definition of ChatGPT? What is it?
What is ChatGPT? Okay, I'll try to keep it simple, but ChatGPT is a large language model, and so basically, there's been a bunch of work done in this space to create something that predicts the next word. So all ChatGPT is a bunch of information that's been compiled together, and it's trying to build a sentence and just predict what the next word should be based on a topic that you've given it. So you ask a question, and it goes back and it looks through its data that it has, and then tries to just write a sentence that answers your question or provides information in the topic that you've given it. Does that help?
I totally concur, but that's today, right?
Sure.
Down the road. And so, it's working predominantly with language, at this point.
Yeah.
But right now there's so much investment going on from Microsoft directly, from other organizations that are begin to allow it to apply it to data, right? And so the key is that it's not just about about language, right? About creating, sort of not really beautifully written sentences. It's about actually giving us insight. And so we are clearly, at the early stages of that, but that is something that we are investing in, is something that we will absolutely be talking with professional services, field services organizations as well about how it can be utilized. So,
So I'm interested, Eric. I mean, how could we use ChatGPT today?
Well, as a matter of fact, Aaron, I went ahead and said, I asked ChatGPT a few questions, right? So I asked it, how can ChatGPT improve margins for a service organization, right? And so, it was a simple sentence, but I said, all right, what is it going to come back with, right? So I said, streamline operations, evaluate your internal processes. Well, guess what? We've just been talking about processes for the last 20 minutes or so, however long we've been on, and using Power Automate, right? Power Apps in terms of processes to try to improve efficiency and productivity. And ChatGPT says, hey, that's pretty darn important.
That's right.
Optimize pricing, right? Is basically going through that. Well, optimizing pricing goes back to the analytical capabilities that is sitting within Power BI, right? And so, there's another 30 or so Power BI reports that I could show you that Velosio uses that exposes these types of things. The key is that it's there. So folks can read on the screen here, some of the other topics that it thinks is important to services organizations.
Yeah, but this is just incredible, Eric. I mean, you've basically just gotten back a little mini paper about how to manage a services business.
Exactly.
And again, I mean, it's just responding to that single sentence prompt and generating word by word something that makes sense to us.
Yeah.
And you could, I do recommend you take this with a little bit of grain of salt, that you read through it, make sure it makes sense to you. But you can take this, you can run with it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we like the one that says leverage technology because we do think that it's business impactful, right? We think that folks can just flat out, improve their businesses by doing that. But let's take a look at another thing saying, if you just said field services, what are the benchmark metrics for a field services organization, right? It's coming back with absolutely all the things that we talk about with our clients on a day-to-day basis, right? And we end up generating systems and creating systems to capture it, whether it's in the field services module within Dynamics CE, or something custom with a custom app as well.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, first time fix rate, mean time to repair, response times, CSAT scores. I mean, this is all exactly what we would talk about with the field services organization.
And one last example here, you got to love it. What are use cases for ChatGPT for services companies? Well, here we go. So this, customer support, and this is what we referenced relative to virtual agents, right? A little bit earlier. Now, increasingly, ChatGPT is a natural language interface, right? And so as you develop a virtual agent, what is it? It's natural language. You're asking it questions. And so, you can basically facilitate, and allow your clients to get better answers quicker from a knowledge base, with the use of this type of technology.
Right. Yeah. So what if ChatGPT, understood your information, right? Perhaps you've got a knowledge base of support articles and things that are applicable to your business, information that your customers might be interested in. And what if they could just type a chat and a service like this could respond with a very credible response back in a text form that included information about your business? That's super powerful. Others examples in here are more kind of around you and your organization using ChatGPT to get information about your industry or understand more about your customers. There's different ways that you could. There's so many different ways you could think about potentially using these models. Yeah, I don't know. The other thing, Eric, that's in my head, if I don't know if you want me to talk a little bit about how maybe we're seeing this affect Power Platform.
Yeah, please.
So, it's interesting. Microsoft has been involved with kind of this development, some of this technology, and Microsoft has very similar capabilities in their, AI world. And we're seeing some of this come into Power Platform tools. So we mentioned at the beginning the AI Builder tool, which has been an existing tool from Microsoft that has some AI capabilities like scanning a document and doing a text extraction from an image, or analyzing text and determining sentiment. So you get an email, is the person angry at you or are they happy, right? There's been sort of those things that have come along in the past. And so one of the things we're seeing now is the ability to access a large language model like ChatGPT. And so you could think of a Power Automate that's triggered in off of something happening, and it perhaps takes maybe it's a question from your customer and runs it through a model like this and returns a response. Could be a chat response or an email response. But we're seeing these things start to make its way into the platform, which is really, really cool.
Yeah. Well, Aaron, I know, we could talk about this all day long, because it's tremendous, technology that is impactful to the business. And so we appreciate everybody's time today. Oops, it looks like I'm off.
You're off the presentation.
I'm out of presentation mode, but there you go. There's how you can contact Aaron. Please feel free to reach out to us at any point for any topic around that we can be of assistance, and appreciate your time today. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone.